Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Majorly Minor Podcast. I am your host, Maris Shanahi, and today I wanted to discuss time, specifically the relationship that exists between time and the things that you create. It's the most interesting type of relationship because time actually has the ability to affect the composition of what you're creating. So let me explain. There are times when an individual may be working on something or trying to solve a problem, but they just can't seem to come up with a solution. And so they step away from it. They go for a walk, they go to bed, they take a break, and then randomly the solution will come to them and they've essentially figured it out. And that process has to do with how our brains work. Our prefrontal cortex is supposed to not only focus on the task at hand, but also search for other information that we have stored in our memory. So if we're too focused on something, then there's no room to search for solutions, and we're not able to find those solutions until we physically step away. So that all makes sense if we're trying to solve a problem that has a defined solution. But what about when we're doing something creative? What about a creative problem where there's technically multiple solutions and it's all mostly subjective? Or what about a situation where you're trying to solve something that ends up solving itself? How do you navigate that? So what happens is a creative individual will create something, and while that's taking place, both things are existing in the present. But what happens once the creative steps away from it? The misconception is that the creative keeps moving forward, but that the thing they're working on stays behind in the past. So once it's time for the creative to come back to it, it doesn't matter if it's been a few hours or a few weeks. Now there's this predicament where the creative is viewing this thing that they did with the lenses of their past self. And in some cases, the creative may not know how to proceed because something just isn't adding up. The music producer Rick Rubin talks about this while working on an album where he would work on a song and they could hear what was wrong with it. They could literally hear the mistake. But once they would go to bed and come back to the studio the next day, they couldn't hear the mistake anymore. And they couldn't understand what was happening because they could have sworn that there was a mistake the night before. The things that we create have this unique ability to change and shift in our subconscious. As we move forward, we experience new things, and our emotions and our feelings change. So we always come back to the things we're working on with a different perspective. So when you step away from something you created and come back to it later, you're not looking back at it from the past. That thing you created is moving forward with you. You're carrying it with you, and it's being tweaked and modified and updated in your subconscious. You just don't know it yet. So instead of being confused or upset with how time may affect your creativity, you should try to embrace it as much as you can and make sure that you're seeing your work in your present instead of your past. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back with another episode soon. Subscribe to the podcast if you'd like, and thanks for listening. All right, see you later.